For 2 years, I covered my sister Emma's rent and living expenses, hoping to see her thrive. Instead, she humiliated me at a family gathering. Smirking, I raised my glass and left her speechless. I supported Emma financially for 2 years, funding her rent and lifestyle because I cared deeply and believed she was working toward a better future. But during a family dinner, she insulted me, calling me a failure in front of everyone. That moment was my breaking point. I smiled, lifted my glass, and calmly announced I'd no longer pay her rent. Her stunned expression was unforgettable. In hindsight, I should have anticipated this. Emma had always been self-centered, cunning, and manipulative. Even as kids, she made everything about herself. If I got a new game, she'd suddenly crave it. If I was unwell, she'd amplify her own complaints to steal the spotlight. If I earned praise, she'd turn it into a grievance about her own struggles. But Emma wasn't just selfish, she was clever. She never demanded things outright. Instead, she mastered playing the victim, subtly guilt-tripping others into helping her. It worked every time. I should have been wiser, but she was family, and I wanted to trust her. It all began 2 years ago when Emma, then 20, wanted to move to the city for college. Our parents were supportive but cautious. They knew she was reckless with money, having never held a steady job, and her savings vanished quickly. They insisted she needed a clear plan before they'd assist her financially. That gave Emma the perfect opportunity to weave her deception. Days later, she arrived at my doorstep, sobbing, claiming our parents had abandoned her, refusing to help because they saw her as a failure. She said she'd signed a lease and faced homelessness without support. She pleaded for temporary help until she completed her studies. I wasn't wealthy, but I had stability. The idea of her struggling or dropping out weighed on me. So, I agreed to send her $1,600 monthly for rent, utilities, and essentials. It was a significant portion of my income, but I thought it was short-term, maybe 6 months, a year at most. But a year passed, then another. Emma never mentioned repayment or showed gratitude. When I asked about her studies, she seemed irritated, never thanking me or acknowledging my sacrifice. It felt like I was just another expense she expected covered. Unbeknownst to me, Emma was also taking money from our parents, the same parents she claimed had disowned her. She manipulated us all, convincing each of us we were her only lifeline while she lived comfortably, spending on parties, shopping, and luxuries. She'd been deceiving us for years, and we fell for it. The turning point came at a family dinner. It was a warm, joyful evening at our parents' home. Mom had prepared a feast, Dad opened a fine bottle of wine, and the atmosphere was lively. Emma, however, was tipsy, laughing loudly and dominating the conversation. Then, out of nowhere, she sneered, "Jake? Total failure." The room went quiet. Mom's fork paused mid-air. Dad's face was unreadable. Even distant relatives stopped their chatter. I set down my glass and smiled. "Well, Emma," I said calmly, "since I'm such a failure, I guess you won't need my money anymore." Her smirk vanished. "You know," I continued, "the $1,600 I've been sending you every month for 2 years? Since I'm a failure, you probably don't want my support anymore." She looked stunned, speechless for once. She hadn't realized the consequences of her words. The dinner turned into a reckoning. My parents were shocked to learn I'd been funding Emma, and I was equally stunned to discover they'd been sending her money too. Emma had been deceiving us all, pocketing extra cash while pretending to struggle. Worse, she wasn't even enrolled in college anymore, she'd dropped out a year earlier. Her lies unraveled that night, and by the end, my parents and I agreed to cut her off. Emma's world crumbled quickly. She tried to manipulate her way back into our favor, but we stood firm. She sold her designer bags and clothes, begged old friends for loans, and even tried to guilt me into helping again. I refused. She destroyed every trust, and now she faced the fallout. With no income, Emma was evicted from her apartment. She had to move back in with our parents, but this time, there were conditions. Dad made it clear, if she wanted to stay, she had to work and contribute. Emma, who'd never worked a day in her life, took a job as a cashier at a supermarket. She despised it but had no choice. Over the months, I watched her struggle to adapt. She grumbled about her job, her aching feet, and her lack of freedom, but she was finally learning what adulthood meant. She had to budget, buy her own food, and help with household costs, a harsh but necessary lesson. Months later, at another family dinner, Emma seemed different. The flashy clothes and arrogant attitude were gone. She was quieter, humbler, and visibly tired. She spoke less, but when she did, there was a new awareness of hard work and accountability. Recently, she texted me a brief, straightforward message, "Hey, I get it now." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Seeing her take responsibility was enough. Emma has been back with our parents for 6 months now, and the change is clear. She's still at the supermarket, still grumbling about rude customers and sore feet, but there's a growing sense of accountability. She's saving money, budgeting carefully, and even talking about returning to school on her own terms. My parents are firm but supportive, requiring her to pay a small rent, buy her own groceries, and help around the house. It's not the life she wanted, but it's the one she needs. As for me, I've let go. I'm free from her manipulation and the weight of her lies. I've learned that enabling someone can sometimes hurt more than help. Cutting her off was tough but necessary. She needed to learn the value of effort and responsibility, and sometimes, that lesson only comes through hardship. Conclusion: Emma's journey shows that kindness without limits can cause more harm than good. It's a lesson in standing up for yourself and holding others accountable, even when it's difficult. If you connected with this story, share your thoughts below. Was the outcome fair, or too harsh? We'd love to hear your perspective.